It's the boy, Bubba Lutz, coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba Lutz. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake.
Welcome back, Bubba Bunch, to another edition of the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast. It is episode 241, and you know what time it is. It's that time of the week. It is winners and losers of the NFL Week 4. Yes, we're already a month into the season, and Week 4 has been, I guess, the most underwhelming week of the season so far. You know, we've had some really great matchups over the week, but I felt like maybe one or two games this week really took command of the whole weekend, and the rest were kind of just there for us to, I guess, absorb. But other than that, nothing really to sink our teeth into other than the obvious Tom Brady versus Patriots and the Cowboys versus Panthers. Those matchups really stood out this weekend. But other than that, I felt like there was a sense of like a lacking, like a hole as far as great games all around the NFL. You know, these matchups weren't great or these games weren't great. So I think this episode may be a little bit lighter on a topic wise, but the things that we do have to talk about, I'm really passionate about to talk about. So before we get into that, just know that we are still doing the GoFundMe for the funeral expenses for my father, my late great father. And if you'd like to become a paid member of the podcast, you can go on anchor.fm/Bubba Lutz, our sponsor, anchor.fm. You can go on there and subscribe for $1, $5, or $10 a month, and all that will go to me personally. And I was just talking to one of my friends that actually subscribes to it, and he says, you know, that's money that goes to you, and I couldn't be more proud of what you're doing and be, I guess, more giving when it comes to just that amount of money. And I said, I thank you so much, because it's something small to a lot of people, but to me, it means the world that someone would go out of their way to give, in a sense of like believing in what I'm doing and supporting that in a monetary value. But thank you so much for all you guys that support, paid or unpaid, it doesn't matter. You guys are here, and I'm here to give you some really great content to digest over the week. So let's get into winners and losers for week 4 in the NFL. I wish I would have had Kevin on this podcast. Of course, timing and scheduling is always an issue when it comes to us, but we'll try to get an episode with him later on this week. But for winners, let's start it off with one of my favorite players of the year so far. And no, he's not going to go down as a possible MVP candidate. No, he's not going to be the rookie of the year. I do believe in this guy, and after this weekend, after the matchup they just went through on Sunday Night Football, and really the circumstances of this matchup, I felt like Mac Jones stepped up to the plate and has really proven that out of all the rookie quarterbacks so far through 4 weeks of football, he has been the most impressive so far. Look, Mac Jones did not win. This Patriots team are 1-3. They did not beat Tom Brady in the return to Gillette, and they didn't put up a lot of points. Mac Jones isn't putting up big numbers. He's not doing the obvious things that you would want out of a great rookie quarterback to make a case for being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think he's doing it in a very different way, and I think he's going at a pace to where the Patriots are very comfortable with that, and they're also very aware of it. They are leading this guy in a direction at their own pace, at their own speed, but he is aware of it, and he is embracing it to the best of his ability. Mac Jones, in this 19-17 loss against the Bucs on Sunday night, 31 of 40, only 9 incompletions, one of those being an interception, 275 yards for 2 touchdowns, had a passer rating of over 101. I'm not going to say that he is the most impressive thing. You know, Trevor Lawrence is obviously more talented. I think Justin Fields is more talented. And eventually Trey Lance will be a much more overall well-rounded quarterback than Mac Jones. Mac Jones falling to 15, is the best thing that could have happened to him. I think New England was the best possible spot for him as far as where he goes from Alabama straight into another great coaching program, very similar to Nick Saban, into Bill Belichick. And he won the starting job against Cam Newton. Now, I'm tired of hearing all this Cam Newton like, oh, well, if he was still on the team, they wouldn't be 1-3, and Cam wouldn't do that. Cam wouldn't have done this. Get over it. Cam Newton, I think if Cam Newton was in the same situation as Mac Jones right now, they would still be 1-3. They would still be the same type of performance out of the Patriots in general. But I do think that Mac Jones is playing at a better level than Cam Newton would be playing at this very moment. Mac Jones, to me, is showing you that he is dedicated, that he is focused, locked in to getting better each and every week. The way that they're doing this is going to be a little bit boring to a lot of people, but for me, it makes all the sense in the world, because what Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are doing are saying, we're not going to put you in a situation to where you have to force the ball down the field. We're not going to put you in that to where you feel uncomfortable about making decisions. We're going to give you the playbook. We're going to teach you the playbook, and we're going to give you the best possible chance to succeed in this offense, whether that's through running the football with Damian Harris and at that time James White, whether that's going through the passing game with your running backs with James White again or Damian Harris, or we're just going to give you a lot of simple stuff just to get you in the swing of things throughout these first few months of the NFL season. And once you really narrow it down, limit those mistakes, and no mistakes, Mac. That's what I like to call them. And once you get comfortable with it, then we start to embrace and kind of broaden the horizon as far as what you can do with this football team. It's been a lot of intermediate, a lot of checkdowns, a lot of simple stuff out of Mac Jones. But I think right now, that is the best thing that you could do if you're Jones. Honestly, I'm waiting for that game to where he feels confident enough, or they allow him to have the opportunity to throw down the field. Like, give him a Zach Wilson type of play to where it's like, I'm going to throw this thing about 40 to 50 yards down the field and see if Jacoby Myers catches it. I'm waiting for that game. I think Mac Jones is salivating at that opportunity. He is anticipating that as much as I am. I want to see this guy throw the ball. I want to see the gunslinger and see if it's there for Mac Jones. Right now, it's a lot of checkdowns, a lot of smart decisions, and I think the comparisons on Sunday night to like what Tom Brady was doing early in his career about how quick he's getting the ball out, or the decisions he's making are very Tom Brady-esque. I think it's a little far-fetched for right now, but think about what Tom Brady was when he first came in like 2001. It was like, we don't know about this kid. You know, we're not going to throw everything at him. We're just going to try our best, and then as the season goes along, we're going to see progression. We're going to see improvement. And that's exactly what we're going to see out of Mac Jones over the next few months. I don't think this team is a playoff-ready team right now. They could make a push for a wild card based on how that AFC East is going. It's the Buffalo Bills, and then there's everybody else. New England has a defense. They have some weapons offensively and a great coaching staff to where they can bounce back, win some games, and get into a playoff push. I was impressed by their performance on Sunday night against the Bucs. Look, they couldn't run the football. Nobody can run the football against Tampa Bay. Mac Jones did the right things. He made one bad mistake with an interception. And other than that, 9 incompletions against a defense like this that can pressure the quarterback and stop the run. They put a game plan in. It's like, if you're going to beat us, Mac Jones is going to beat us. And I think late in that game, he stepped up to the plate. He wasn't, overwhelmed by the emotions or the jitters of this insane game matchup of Tom Brady versus the Patriots. And he shined late in that game. I think he didn't, just shut down, or he went with it, gave a punch backs against the wall. He fought back. And I'm impressed by that. If we're looking at Trevor Lawrence, we're looking at Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, or Trey Lance right now. Like Trey Lance, we don't have enough to really show if he's going to be great or not so far. Zach Wilson had some bad games, including the Patriots, but he had a good game against Tennessee. So we'll see a little bit inconsistency out of Zach Wilson this season, in my opinion. But I think he's going to be good. And Justin Fields, he has no offensive line, so God help him. And then Trevor Lawrence, we'll get to Urban Meyer in a second, okay? But for right now, I think Mac Jones has been the most impressive quarterback, and he's surprised a lot of people. I think he was going to be good, but I think he's been better than expected. Just wait for the game to where he really pops off in this offense, feels good, feels confident, feels his arm, and he lets it down the field, man. Like, I'm okay with these checkdowns, and I'm okay with this intermediate stuff right now. But he's making those decisions. He's doing the things that I didn't see Cam Newton do last year. Cam Newton couldn't make an accurate throw 10 yards down the field. Mac Jones is accurate. Mac Jones is consistent. That's what you need out of this New England Patriots offense. And Mac Jones is a perfect guy for this team. Patriots are the perfect team for Mac Jones. Mac Jones is the perfect quarterback for the Patriots. I like what I see so far, even though they're 1-3. Mac Jones, enjoy a little bit of the bubbly.
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Our next winner is going to be a little bit different because we're not going to talk about what's on the field technically, but we're talking about Joey Bosa and what he had to say about NFL referees throughout this season so far. If there's one team that I'm okay with talking about how bad the refs are, it's the Los Angeles Chargers. They got a good win against the undefeated Las Vegas Raiders. Going to say Oakland for a second. But huge win on Monday Night Football. Justin Herbie looks great. Austin Eckler, phenomenal. Joey Bosa is fast. He's been electric this season. Doesn't have the stats to show it yet, but I think he's been impressive so far on film. But I think this is the best thing he's done all season long, is after the game against the Raiders, he goes into his press conference and says this.
I didn't even know they called the penalty on me because I was fuming, but, I mean, refs are blind. Simple. I'm sorry, but you're blind. Like, open your eyes and do your job. It's so bad. It's unbelievable.
Nothing that was said was wrong. Absolutely nothing. I completely agree with him 100%. And if this is going to get him fined, which 99.9% it will, it's worth it. It's worth it at this point because it's valid. It's completely valid why Joey Bosa, out of all people, would say that the refs are doing a terrible job and that they're blind this year. If we go back and really watch that Chargers versus Cowboys game, the Chargers made a lot of mistakes. Don't get me wrong. But some of those referee calls were absolutely horrid. I mean, just out of line to the point to where I'm thinking the NFL has to step in at this point and investigate because some of those calls just were irrational and churlish. You know, we're going to go substitute teacher on that, but churlish is really the word. And this is not just with the Chargers. I'm seeing it across the NFL. I've watched the majority of these games for the last month. I'm investing hours upon hours on NFL football, more than I have ever had. And I'm seeing consistently throughout different officiating crews, different games, different weeks, that bad calls are made at a consistent level. We're talking about all across the board, pass interference. We're talking about replays. We're talking about roughing the passer. We're talking about taunting. Like we can't even talk about how bad the taunting calls have been this year. And we have some games to where we see a player show a little bit of emotion, and then the commentator's like, "Oh, I'm so glad that the taunting call wasn't officiated there." Why is that a good thing? Like, we shouldn't have to worry about stuff like that. I forget the player. It was Darren Waller on that Monday Night Football game, and he's on or in the Chargers sideline, or on the Chargers sideline, excuse me. And he spikes the ball because it's a first down, big play for the Raiders. Didn't look at anybody, didn't maliciously intent or purposely look at a certain player to gesture that he's spiking the ball. He just spiked the ball like everyone else. Like everyone else in football that has spiked the ball before, they have spiked the ball because it's a big play and he gets called for a taunting. That is ridiculous that they think that that's unsportsmanlike conduct. It's a big play in the game. If you're going to call that, you might as well call someone, you might as well call Zeke for doing the feed me more or the CeeDee Lamb doing the nose thing, because in all reality, it's the same thing as spiking a ball. It's not delaying the game. It's not going to start a fight. It's not doing anything like that. Joey Bosa is completely right about this, especially coming off that Cowboys game where the refs really ruined it for them. Like, I felt like the refs ruined that game, and this is not going to be the only game that is ruined. You know, roughing the passer has always been a very delicate thing to talk about. It's ridiculous that they're still calling some of those plays, and almost every single time I'm saying, what do you want him to do there? Same thing with a defenseless wide receiver that catches a ball and gets hit. But it's not helmet to helmet. It doesn't lead with the crown of the helmet. It's a shoulder play. It's a body, arms first, and yet they still call it. NFL referees have been the worst that I've seen in a very long time this year. And if Joey Bosa is going to speak out on that, great. If I had the money, I will gladly pay that fine for him, because he is completely right. He's not the only one that has said so this year already, and he won't be the last. He definitely won't be the last. It's been a horrible year for the NFL referees, and I don't see it getting any better, because we're even seeing the veteran officiating crews get a lot of stuff wrong. So Joey Bosa, for your voice of the voiceless speech and for your accurate statement, you get a little bit of the bubbly.
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Oh, man. It's been a while. It's been a real while since I've made this team a winner. And I really wish Kevin was here, because, he would tell me, I told you so. You should listen to me. And I should listen to that handsome man. I really should. Because over the last 2 weeks, I've gone through a lot. And I will honestly say that it's been rough. It's been something I've never experienced before. So watching these Cowboys game, it's a very delicate thing to think about, because of all the issues, or not the issues, but just all the things that are going on right now. It's hard to just take in a game for the Cowboys and not get frustrated or not get invested in a verbal way, or just not have those emotions that are going back and forth affect me during the game. But what Kevin told me after the Chargers game of me being an asshole, which he's right. He's absolutely right when it comes to the Cowboys, that I am an asshole. That I put them at a very high expectation. These last 2 weeks have really given me something to think about. I haven't experienced this type of excitement for future games, for like the upcoming matchup, or just watching this team play. If the game's on, I'll watch it again, because of course it's great for them to win. As a Cowboys fan, I'm always a little bit joyful when it comes to them winning a lot of football games. They're 3-1. But it's the way that they're doing it. And I'm going to make this short, because you can go back and listen to that Cowboys review for the Panthers game and talk about whether or not they're a Super Bowl contender. And I said a lot of the same things on there that I'm going to say right now. But not since 2016 have I been excited to watch this football team. I mean, I'm excited. I'm a little bit of a fanboy right now. I'm going to love Dak no matter what. Dak Prescott's my favorite player in the league, and he's one of my favorite human beings around the world. He's a great role model, and I'd love to meet him one day and hopefully interview him at some point for the Bubba Lutz Sports podcast. I love CeeDee Lamb. I love him. Love him so much. I love Micah Parsons. But the love I'm starting to get for Trevon Diggs, it's like that high school crush, Trevon Diggs, he's making me feel like a cheerleader on the sideline on a Friday night in high school. That's my boy, But Trevon Diggs is playing phenomenal football. He's not playing at a Jalen Ramsey level yet for me, but he's getting the turnovers. He's making plays. He's starting to build a swagger with this defense alongside Micah Parsons and Osa Odigizua as well. You can throw him in there too, because he had a phenomenal Carolina game. I'm just really excited to see what this Cowboys team can do. It's not Super Bowl ready. It's not NFC Championship ready. They're the clear favorites to win this NFC East. But after the 6 days of that Monday night game against the Eagles where they thrashed them, and then the Carolina second half especially, great decision-making by the coaching staff, including Kellen Moore, great offensive play, the defense causing turnovers, and even though they had a little bit of a scare in that fourth quarter, they still got the job done. I've talked about execution and finishing for this team. The last 2 weeks, they have finished. They have executed. And I am proud of this team over the last week and a half, really, because it's only 6 days in between these games. And that's through adversity. This team crumbles on most cases when their star player offensively or defensively goes down. You're talking about multiple guys on this defense. DeMarcus Lawrence, Donovan Wilson. Now that Jalen Smith is gone too. And then offensively, Lyle Collins is out for the next 3 games at least, depending on who's he going to sue this week. And then you also have Amari Cooper banged up. Michael Gallup's not in. And yet, through adversity, I'm seeing a team that's playing better through adversity. I've never seen a team for the Cowboys do this, at least for recent memory, that has been dealing with all these injuries. And I said at the beginning of the season, like, oh, we're already dealing with this. COVID list, injuries, coaching decisions. Oh, man, it's just going to be another year. And after week 2, you're starting to see it come together. It's just one of those things to where, what's a good example of it? It's just like, when you're cooking something and at the beginning, you're just seeing all these ingredients. You're like, I can see how this can be really good and tasty. But once you start mixing some things together, you're like, oh, man, this is a lot of pressure. This is a lot to take in. And then you start to taste it a little bit. You're like, oh, well, then I'm going to add a little bit of this. What if I add a little bit of that? And you start to see it come alive and really come together in a nice way. And I think we're seeing that in the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm impressed so far over the last week or so. And against the Giants, I think this is a good test for them as far as themselves. This is a battle against themselves. They're obviously more talented than the New York Giants. But we've seen cases to where they go into a game feeling good, feeling hot, and then they have a heat check and they play bad football, and you're like, oh, well, that's where the Cowboys have been. They've just been disguised as a good team. Let's see what they do against the Giants. But for right now, after week 4, I truly believe the Dallas Cowboys deserve a little bit of the bubbly.
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Now, some people that don't deserve bubbly. And I've talked about this before, and I'm going to continue to talk about that. But Ben Roethlisberger is done. It's time. It's been time. I have been off of Big Ben as the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers since last year. Ever since week 11 where they go 11-0 or week 12, whatever it was. And then they start to lose 4 out of their last 5 games or 5 out of their last 6. And then they have that embarrassment that was that playoff game against Cleveland. 38, 39 years old, Big Ben, considering retirement for the 50th time. It's time. It's been a good run for Big Ben and the Steelers. They're getting younger. They're revamping that whole offensive line and getting younger there, and they're just moving a lot of pieces. They draft Najee Harris. Their defense is still really good, so they can win them some games, but maybe it's time to look into the draft or look into free agency and see what's available. Sam Darnold's there. Carson Wentz there. Make a push for Deshaun. Make a push for, I don't know. Who else could you really go after? Tyrod Taylor. I don't know. These are hard decisions to make, of course, at the end of Big Ben's career. It's just one of those things where you have to do it. You got to rip off the Band-Aid. And not only did the Steelers not rip off the Band-Aid, they put an extra one on there. They did the crisscross to where now you got to rip off twice. And it's going to hurt like a motherfucker. You were convinced that with the diet, you were convinced with the loss of weight and with a off season to where Big Ben's having, mentally a nice, relaxed off season, and he's getting better health-wise, and he's getting weapons around him, that you think that maybe this year's going to be a little bit different. What you can't get rid of is the fact that Big Ben was always based on his ability to be durable. The ability to stand in the pocket and deal with a bunch of hands going around him and to fight through it because he has that strength. He is still a very strong man. I will say that. For 39 years old, 40 years old, whatever, he's still strong. He's still a big boy. But we're in an era in this NFL to where you need agility. You need a guy that can use his legs and that is quick. Pocket awareness is always going to be key, but the way they use that pocket awareness alongside with your legs to avoid that pass rush, to avoid pressure, is something that you need to have in a quarterback everywhere. You know, we have moved to a Deshaun Watson, a Dak Prescott, a Lamar Jackson, a Patrick Mahomes era to where if you don't have that agility or that footwork and the ability to escape the pocket at a fast rate, you're done for. These defensive ends and defensive tackles are too damn fast. Offensive lines can only be so good in the NFL. And if we're talking about offensive lines, Pittsburgh's not one of them. You know, they are figuring stuff out as the season goes along. I can't have a 39 to 40-year-old quarterback making the decisions. I can't have a guy that can barely move. He moves like a sack of potatoes. He looks like a sack of potatoes. I can't have that guy be my quarterback. And I don't know why Mike Tomlin, the Steelers organization, and why even Big Ben thinks that he can do it. He looks already banged up and tired like he did in week 17 of last year. He looks exhausted. This team is not keeping up with the rest of the division. You can't keep up with Lamar Jackson, with Baker Mayfield. Joe Burrow's playing way better with a terrible Cincinnati Bengals team. And somehow they're 3-1. Pittsburgh Steelers are 1-3. There is no way that out of those three teams that I just named outside of Pittsburgh that are 3-1 and the Steelers being 1-3, that this season will end up in the playoffs. There's no way. You already lost to the Bengals once, and that's not even the toughest team in your division. Wait till you have to play Myles Garrett. Wait till you have to play Calais Campbell. Wait till you have to stop Lamar Jackson. It's not going to be possible. Big Ben is slow. He is slow. You can't have that as a quarterback nowadays. And if you look exhausted, if you look slow in week 4, what is week 10 going to look like? What is week 17 going to look like? It's going to look like the Pittsburgh Steelers staying at home and watching the playoffs in Pittsburgh. Big Ben is throwing a lot of short things, a lot of intermediate stuff. It's different from how Mac Jones is doing it because he is forced to do that. Mac Jones has a decision to take a shot downfield or take the safe pass and just do the easy, smart decisions. Big Ben doesn't have that royalty. He has to throw to Najee Harris in the backfield. He has to throw to Deontay Johnson or Chase Claypool 5 yards down the field. He has no time. He has no legs to run. This has got to be it for Big Ben. There's no way that they bring him back for another year, and I'm shocked that they've gave him that extra year. It was a mistake when it started. It's a mistake now. It's time to move on. Big Ben and the Steelers. Second loser, I mean, they got the 40-point burger put on them by the Buffalo Bills. Houston Texans, after a great win in week 1 against the horrific Jacksonville Jaguars, have lost 3 in a row. And Tyrod Taylor going out was definitely the catalyst for this. Davis Mills is definitely not the guy. I think he is ranked the worst quarterback in the league right now, as he should be. The Houston Texans are what they are. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but you know, I had them going 0-17, and honestly, they should have just lost that week 1 because I think the NFL would have been better if the Jacksonville Jaguars win their first game in week 1 and Trevor Lawrence gets his first win in the NFL, Urban Meyer gets his first win in the NFL. If the Houston Texans don't win that, I don't think they win any of these games this year. Because if you can't beat Jacksonville, you can't beat anyone. And he definitely can't beat the Buffalo Bills. 5 turnovers for this Buffalo defense. They're looking good through the last 2 weeks of football. Josh Allen, a little bit of a slow start. Psych! I lied. He's doing great. That running game's looking good. That defense is looking great. They're back in shape. They're going to win that division. Houston Texans, though, God help them because they play. Who do they play this week? I forget who they played this week. Oh, the Patriots. I think the Patriots win that because they're coming off of a hot loss to the Bucks, and they thought they played good. So this is a good way to get some confidence boost to them. I think Mac Jones will look good against Houston. And then you got the Colts. Jonathan Taylor is going to run all over you. And then you play like some really good football teams the next few weeks. Oh, I have my apologies. Not only do you play those two that I just named, but you get a little bit of a break when you play the Cardinals, who are obviously the best team in the NFL right now. And then after that, you get spooky on Halloween, and you play the second best team in football, the Los Angeles Rams. Congratulations. I can't wait for November 28th versus the Jets, because that's going to be a great game. Hopefully that's in London, because they always seem to put great games in London. Houston Texans, until you get Tyrod Taylor back, you're not going to do anything. And even then, who cares? You're an embarrassment, and no one cares about you. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. But at least you have a win under your book because you beat the one team that is a lost cause after 4 weeks of football. And it's not even a lost cause to where we'll see what the rest of the season goes. There might not be the rest of the season. The Jacksonville Jaguars are terrible. Trevor Lawrence has already lost more games, or just as many games in the NFL as he's lost in his entire high school and college career. But no one takes the cake for being the worst part of this organization than Urban Meyer. I pride myself on my Twitter and being a smartass. When I heard the news of Urban Meyer apologizing for the video that surfaced, I thought to myself, okay, I mean, I haven't seen the video, and he said that it's stupid what he did, and I heard that he was, at the club or at a bar, and he got a little handsy, and he had a girl in his lap, and I'm thinking, I'm just based on recent memory, what Jerry Jones dealt with, you got that picture where he's just like groping that young woman, and it just looks weird and really uncomfortable. I'm thinking the same thing here. Now, Urban Meyer isn't as old as Jerry Jones, but it's still kind of weird because you have a family and you have a wife and you just started your job in Jacksonville. So I think, how bad could this be? I don't think I'm allowed to put the video up on YouTube. Just go on Twitter, go on YouTube. Someone's probably posted it. And just take a look for yourself, because not only is it him sitting down at the bar and having a lady in front of him that's obviously not his wife, and he's getting, he's having a good time. I just can't put my finger on it, according to my tweet. He was having a nice time, a nice night out at the town, especially downtown, to be specific. He'll figure something out when it comes to that. It's pretty bad, and I feel like at this point he's trying to get fired. Don't you think? Like, just a little bit of it. It's like when they asked him if he considered resigning, he was like, absolutely not. Well, you can't resign if you get fired. You can't get that severance package if you don't get fired. USC is looking like an incredible job for Urban Meyer, and the West Coast with the Trojans just feels like a nice place to really get away from everything. Because Jacksonville just doesn't seem like a comfortable spot to run a football team. Urban Meyer is doing everything possible to get himself fired and doing everything wrong. I don't think he's done a single thing right since being at Jacksonville. What do you do? We're in week 4, guys. We're in week 4. We have an extended season. There's 17 weeks now. They're not going past 17 weeks. But can we make it to week 8? If you know how Trevon Diggs is on pace to get like 20 interceptions or something like that? You know how like players are like, he's on pace to get 30 sacks or something because he had 6 sacks in the first game. He's on pace to throw for 60 touchdowns. And you're like, all right, okay, it makes sense because you're basing it off of, statistics. But let's be a little bit realistic here. He's not going to get 60 touchdowns. Urban Meyer is on his way. He's on pace to be fired by week 6. Like every week it's something. It's the Tim Tebow. It's the terrible week 1 loss. It's him, I was about to say some very raunchy stuff, but I can't say it. But you get what I mean if you've seen the video. That's three major events that have happened for Urban Meyer. And they've all been terrible to the point where you're like, yeah, he's going to get fired at some point. Well, what's the line? The Khan family has already put out a statement, and the owner, Mr. Khan, has said that he's got to earn back the trust of the organization, or Urban Meyer does. Did he really have it after like the first week of training camp? After he brought in Tim Tebow? And then he trades CJ Henderson because they desperately needed a tight end. Like, that's the most important thing. They said, we'll give you CJ Henderson, but you need to promise me that we'll get Dan Arnold, whatever that guy's name is. I was about to say Sam Darnold. Is that it? Dan Arnold? I don't know. Whatever. But I gotta have that tight end. Gotta. Congratulations. You got him. Let's just look at the schedule real quick. You got to play Tennessee. I mean, they lost to the Jets, so who knows? The Dolphins, who knows? Seahawks, Bills, Colts, 49ers. You got to play the Rams. Yeah, not looking good for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Urban Meyer just looks like he's already out. He's checked out. We said it in winners and losers of week 1, so they have returned for the first time this year. Congratulations to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You deserve a round of applause. Thank you very much for coming. That's going to do it for winners and losers of NFL Week 4. I hope you enjoyed this. I think this came out really nice. But once again, anchor.fm/Bubba Lutz to become a paid member. Go like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And then follow on audio platforms like Spotify or Apple Podcast. I have plenty of ideas for videos this week, so I'll try to make time for those. It's been a rough few days going back to work and dealing with that early sketch, but we'll try to get better as the days go along, as the weeks go along. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support. Hope you have a great night. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next time on the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast.
Yeah, hold on. Tell me who's your top 5 quarterbacks right now, dead or alive, huh? And how much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried by the team? Now, would you lose if it been a better...